to the Rubber Run Sports Show. I am John Moore. I will always be joined by Rob Giampapa. Thanks for tuning in this evening. We'll be highlighting the best of Northern Virginia high school sports. And this week we started with Champ High School.
Yeah, there were some terrific games on the schedule. Woodgrove and Champ, a rematch of last year's. It was an overtime win for Champ. You know, and they had an undefeated season running throughout. Woodgrove was ready for them this week. They came out on fire. They won the game 30-3. Their offensive and defensive lines pretty much dominated throughout the game. Man, they had 290 total rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, and they held Champ to 171 total yards. Their quarterback, Mike Kovich, was 9 of 12, 160 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, but he also had 22 carries for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. He pretty much handled that game throughout. They also have a big receiver as well, number 17, Mason Giernick. I'm sure I just jacked up his name really bad, but he had 6 receptions for 120 yards and a touchdown. He was a tough one to handle. They got a senior running back who was definitely the star of the game. He had 11 carries for 107 yards and a long touchdown. He was going throughout. He was tough to handle.
What was the biggest difference between Champ from this season last year? I know they lost.
They lost a ton of players. Yeah, they lost a ton of players. I mean, obviously Zach Burdick, their quarterback from last year, it's a big loss. But also on the defensive side of the ball, you know, they had Sam Adekari, who's a 2-time All-State safety. Right. Really, it was their lines. The defensive line struggled throughout the game. I don't know if Woodgrove had a negative play they had all game. I mean, every run they had seemed to work and seemed to get yards. So it was a tough one. The one bright spot for Champ though is Carl Garman III. Guy had 124 total yards on offense, and he's one to watch. But they also had a ton of penalties. I mean, they had a lot of third downs where they would just have an encroachment, have an offsides, and give Woodgrove's offense a first down. Right. It was you can't win a game like that.
No, you get a lot of that early in the season with a lot of these schools, but kind of expect a little better.
Yeah, I think Coach Dawson. You've talked to Coach Dawson before. I think he'll clean things up going into next week.
Absolutely.
The next game on our schedule, you were down at.
I drove up 123 to McLean High School and. Man, Annandale, we had a conversation last week when we were picking games, and I let my pride get the best of me and picked McLean over Annandale because I'm still bitter about things that happened in the 90s against that school. But, man, they look like they may be on their way back to some of the success they had back then. I mean, they have, Coach Mike Scott's got them firing off the gates. I mean, the score was 10-0 at halftime. Both teams were playing pretty good defense. This kid, Shamar Brown. Yeah. I mean, they got a 3-headed monster over there. John McCrossin, Shamar Brown, and of course Jalen Jackson, the running back. I mean, if you watched a football game, 3 players completely take it over. It was never more evident than in that football game.
No, just looking at the highlights, I mean, just looking at what you had from that game, man, Shamar Brown was unstoppable in that game. I mean, he had a 56-yard punt return, a 40-yard run, and a 60-yard fumble return. I mean,
and he laid a hit that caused the fumble that led to a touchdown by John McCrossin. So I'm sure he won't let us forget that.
No, and he's going to be one to watch all year. But we've talked to Jalen Jackson before a couple of times. That guy. He's tough, too. He did the opposite Kobe. He went from number 24 back to number 8.
He threw me off when I got there. I was tuning in on 24 and wasn't there. Yeah. One of the most impressive things about Annandale was that every time, and this was it was a game McLean team. There was no quitting them. But every time McLean scored, Annandale scored on the ensuing possession. And 2 of the times it was on the first play, including at the end of the game where McLean got a late touchdown. Yeah. And then at the kickoff, when my camera was down, Jalen Jackson runs it back for a touchdown as time expires. So, they got off to a great start, 49-22. They got some big games coming up. It'll be fun to see how their season goes on this year.
Yeah, they've got an interesting game coming up next week against Centerville. That should be one to watch.
Yep.
But the Adams, they shut out McLean in that first half. and scored 25 in the third quarter.
Right. I don't know. The adjustments, they moved the ball pretty well in the first half. They were running the ball kind of well, and they kind of got stuck. Penalties, like you probably saw in the champ game, kind of slowed down a couple of their drives. And then the only touchdown came off of the punt return by Brown. But second half, I mean, it was completely dominate. And yeah, they're going to be a tough team to beat. They got some studs at skill positions on both sides of the ball. So all three phases click.
Well, it looks like the one bright spot for McLean looks like they had 48 carries for about 300 yards.
They did. They run the ball a lot. Both the teams kind of play up tempo offense. You know, they get on the ball when the whistle blows and they snap it. So we know all about the running game of Annandale, and they like to get out there in space and let him run. And McLean tried to do some of the same things, but man, Annandale's defenses. They're aggressive and they're physical. Those are the two takeaways from that game on the defensive side of the ball. Every time they're not that concerned all the time with wrapping up. There's some guys that are trying to lay the big hit, and it's paid off because they caused a couple fumbles on some big shots.
Oh, number 3, I'm not sure who number 3 is, but he had about 3 shots in there that were, I mean, it looked like he was trying to pounce them.
Yeah, they got some heavy hitters over there.
Yeah.
So. They're looking for the highlights on both sides of the ball.
Right. Well, when you say they're both up-tempo styles, but they're up-tempo and run, right? Both of those teams?
Correct. Both up-tempo and run. Didn't see a whole lot of passing until the end of the game from McLean. Annandale only threw a couple passes too, completed. Hit John McCrossan on a long ball down the sideline. So, but they got some gimmicky plays where you can't really key on Jackson the whole game. They run some reverses, they do some stuff, and they got skill players that make the defense stay honest when they're running fakes on that stuff. So.
Yeah, it looked like they lined him up at quarterback a few times in a Wildcat situation.
Yeah, and it ended up with a good result for them too.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
Well, John, before we get to our game of the week, which is Battlefield at Hilton, some other scores that went around in the area. There's some shockers there. But to start off, Forest Park dominated Osborne Park 45-0.
Right.
Park View beat Manassas Park 30-12.
Yep.
Heritage over James Wood 34-7. Potomac over Garfield 31-0. I was a little bit surprised by that.
I was surprised by that myself.
Patriot in a close one beat Stafford 29-28. And
Loudoun Valley 56-27 over Kettle Run.
Yeah, Loudoun Valley. Man, senior running back Tyler Hunt had 9 carries for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I'm pretty sure I saw that guy dunk at the end of a game last year during basketball season. So that he's somebody that's going to be
year for Loudoun Valley.
Absolutely, he's going to be a fun one to watch this year. But they also had senior wide receiver Deron Norris, who had 4 catches for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game.
That's a good start. Potomac Falls 16-10 over Broad Run.
Yeah, best name I've come across so far this year already. Senior running back Cash Jackson. He had 13 carries for 112 yards and a touchdown.
Mount Vernon 44-28 over Washington and Lee.
You know what? Mount Vernon has a new head coach in this year. Obviously, the Mount Vernon is the house that Josh McGrigg built.
That's right.
You know, I wasn't sure how they were going to do this year, losing him and then transitioning to a new coach. But they have a guy that came in there. I don't know where he came from, but Darian Newton had 14 carries for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, and also had 3 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown. That guy was getting it done in that game.
The last game we wrapped up Woodbridge 35 over Stonewall 28.
Yeah, great game. Great game. It was back and forth the whole game, but Woodbridge had Caleb Grant, had 75 yards on 10 carries and a touchdown, and also had 2 receptions for 77 yards and a touchdown to put that game away. That was a great game.
Every week we're going to have a Rebel Run Sports game of the week, and this week, Battlefield versus Hilton. It was a game that was obviously a rematch of a game last year that Battlefield completely dominated, that shocked a lot of people. And this game had the same result in a much different fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Wahid Bird, who was out there covering the game for us. That game was 13-6 at half. Just, kind of slow going early on, although the Battlefield had a big touchdown to Christian Perez to start that game off. It was 13-6 at half. Hilton scored at the end of the game to send it to overtime, and then we went 3 overtimes back and forth.
Oh yeah, Chris Farrell, the game winner.
Yeah, he got the ball over the line, and then he ran with that ball. I don't know if he still put that ball down yet. He took off down the field after he scored that touchdown. Yeah, Battlefield, their first-year quarterback, Jonas Seegers, 9 of 16 for 162 yards. That guy is shifty out there. He is hard to get a hold of.
Yeah,
he's running around. He's a tough one to get a grasp on. If he gets outside the pocket, he can still throw it down the field. It's going to be fun to watch him this year.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Coach Van Aker was taking a deep breath. I know big expectations over there this season. We talked to him last week, and that's a close way to start the season.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there was some nail biting going on those sidelines.
Absolutely.
But Hilton, can't talk about Hilton without talking about Ricky Slade.
Yeah.
He went out there, had 6 carries, 115 yards, I think it was a 98-yard touchdown. I mean, he went off on that one play. But Battlefield tried to hold him in check for as much as they could during that game.
Well, he's super talented. I mean, we're going to see him on a big stage when he's done at Hilton. So
yeah, he cramped up a little bit in the game, and I think it threw a scare into the entire crowd. They definitely don't want to see that guy go down.
Well, in preparation for this week's game of the week, which is going to be West Springfield versus Robinson, and both teams' season opener, Rob, you went down to West Springfield and caught up with some of the guys.
Absolutely. Went down to West Springfield and sat down with wide receivers Daniel Adu and Najee Green, as well as quarterback Peter Musket. Take a look.
Here at the beautiful new field at Spartan Stadium with West Springfield football's Najee Green, Peter Musket, and Daniel Adu. How you guys doing today?
Good, sir. You, sir?
Good. Guys, last season didn't end the way you wanted it to. What were you able to take away from last year that you can take into this year?
Get everyone involved.
Yeah, for us personally, really what killed us toward the end of the year was we didn't have strength in our front seven and really our offensive line. And our ability to move people off the ball wasn't very strong. So we tried to work on was getting our meat a little bit beefier and just like really focusing on getting everybody like to get that forward push that we need to get those short yard situations.
Yeah, basically what Najee said, just get everybody involved. Last year we were thin, in all positions. So this year it's very important that we get everybody playing both sides or as much people as we can. So that's one thing that we're focusing on this year.
Okay. What did you want to work on individually in the offseason to get better for this year?
Work out, run, get faster.
Get faster?
Yeah,
Right.
for me at least.
Me personally, just improving my game at like the cerebral part of the game as quarterback. So focusing on my reads, diagnosing coverages, finding matchups, and getting better in the mental aspect of the game.
With me, I wanted to focus on my leadership, especially with the receiving core. I know I'm a big part of it, and so that's one thing that I wanted to focus on just to get us all on the same page, especially for a quarterback like Peter. It's very important that we all stay on the same page this year.
Okay. And how much competition is there between you, Najee, and Daniel when you're out on the field?
It's a lot of competition, I can definitely say. I mean, we all want the ball, especially me and Najee. Especially fourth down, and and we're looking for someone to make a big play. Me and Najee, always want the ball. So that's
Going back and forth.
competition,
Peter throw it to me. Daniel come back. Peter throw it to me. So yeah.
I love passing,
It's
but I
fun.
also love running too. So I mean, they may get mad if I decide to take off, but it's all good. We still love it.
Well, all right. Well, Peter, since they said it, who talks more? Who comes back and
Talks
tells you
more?
to get in the ball more?
Man, everyone talks so much. Like it's crazy. Like our during practice, we're all just going so intense that honestly, we feel we're open every play, and we all say to each other things we could have said.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't really tell because we're always just going at each other, trying to get each other better. You say it more, don't you?
I don't know.
I think I say a lot more. I always want the ball.
All right. Well, how often did you guys work together in the off season?
Well, during the winter, we had morning weight room together. So we'd all lift and before school started. And then for me and Daniel, we did track. So then we'd usually do a track workout and then maybe throw a little bit after that. So a lot during the winter. Then once that was the spring. That's my fault. So during the winter, we just lifted. And then spring is when we did all that. And we got Najee in there to run with us too. And that's mainly when.
What do you do best on the field?
Go through contact. I don't like juking. I like hitting people.
You just running over?
Yeah.
Yeah, Najee's a hard guy to bring down.
Peter, I asked you the same thing. What do you do best on the field?
For me, if in like a playing aspect, I try to just give defenses like a hard thing to cover. So if they try to guard my pass too much, I can take off and run. If they try to guard me running, then I try to throw. But I also try to be a leader in every way that I can and get these guys organized and putting leadership hopefully in them to like also do the same.
And Najee, I'll ask you the same thing. What does Peter do best on the field?
Peter taking off and running when he doesn't have me and Daniel open.
I like how you put that in there at the
Yeah.
end, though. And Daniel, what do you do best?
I feel like I do best, when the game's on the line, when I'm under pressure, honestly, is when I feel like I do best. Third down last year, it was tough for us, to pick up that first down. And I always wanted the ball on third down and fourth down. And so I feel like when it comes to that, tight situation, that's one thing I do the best. I can stay composed and focused on that. So.
Coach Eldridge is obviously, we talk to him a lot. He's a colorful guy. He likes to talk. What's it like playing for Coach Eldridge?
Whew. His mood
great.
change.
It's great, but sometimes he can be on the tough side. But I love playing for Coach Eldridge. He's always there for us. We're all his boys, and so having a coach that can treat you like a father sometimes, it feels really great. So. Yeah, it's great playing for Coach Eldridge. Yeah, if you say that.
Like, we'd all die for him. Like, you're going to have, like, those moments where you get annoyed with any coach, but I wouldn't want to play for anyone else. Yep. We love him.
And how much, you guys run a lot of trick plays, gadget plays, stuff like that. How much freedom does he give you in the offense?
I think he, leaves that up to the coordinators usually and the quarterback coach. So if we want to run something like that, he's all for it as long as it doesn't end up badly. So he's pretty cool with it.
Yep.
And who's your favorite player to watch? Who's your favorite receiver to watch?
I don't really have a favorite receiver, honestly. I don't really watch football like that. Like, I'm more out. But I don't really have a favorite team. That's your question.
All right. And Peter, what about you? Who do you like to watch? Who do you like to study?
I'm not a Packers fan, but I love watching both Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers just because their ability to get the ball out from different angles and weird directions. I think it's incredible, and that's really what I like to watch and learn from.
I love to watch Calvin Ridley from Alabama. He's a wide receiver there. His routes very nice. I used to watch his high school highlights, every day before last year, and so that's one thing I really look up to. One person I really look up to, and also I like to see DeJon Jackson. His speed and how his route running affects a DB in the game. So those are two people I really like to look at.
Okay. Now, are there players in the area that you follow that you kind of compare yourself with, or you try to stay ahead of?
Yeah, with me definitely. There's a lot of good receivers in this area. Last year, CJ from West Potomac, Dylan Spalding, two really great receivers. This year, I'm really looking at Dylan just to see where I'm at with him. But a great kid, great receiver. So I'm hoping to stay up there with him this year.
What about you?
Beat them all. I'm gonna be there. Just know that this year.
And Peter, what about you? Are there any quarterbacks in the area that you try to?
With us, I feel like we're all just still writing our own stories. So, I like to look at guys who played in the past year. So I'll watch Niebrick's tape, Renner, Lawlick, and Caleb Henderson because I think those are the dudes who I think of when I think of the all-time greats from this Northern Virginia area. Also, Briarwood's guy, what's his face? Trace McSorley, is that his name? So guys like that, real dual threat kind of dudes.
Right. Now, before a game, when you guys are getting ready for a game, do you like to talk a lot? Do you try to get off by yourself? What do you do before a game?
Don't think negative. Always think positive. Just get all the touches I can, catch every ball, get out, score.
What about you, Peter?
I usually like to stay to myself. Pre-game, I'll try to get the guys hyped up and everything like that, but I'm more just quiet, stay to myself, listen to my music, just focus.
Pre-game, usually what I like to do is stay somewhere quiet, dark, where I can watch film. Like I said, of Calvin Ridley, that's one thing one person I watched all last season. Before games, that's usually my main pre-game ritual. Just watch receivers, make great plays, so I can use that on the field that night.
What's on the playlist pre-game?
I can definitely say probably a lot of Future. He's one of my favorite rappers, so. Coach Eldridge wants a variety of playlists, of songs on the playlist. So that's one thing, we're doing this year. So.
All right. Now, guys, about to start off the year here. I mean, you got one more scrimmage against Centerville. Big game against Robinson to open the season. What are your expectations and your goals for your team and for yourselves individually?
I mean, I think our expectation around here is Coach Elgers will tell you every single year is that of the state championship. And, like, if you're not shooting for that, then he really says, like, what's the point of playing? But like I was saying before, like, when you consider it like that, that's, like, a really big goal to set without, like, saying, like, step-by-step ways to get there. So ways that we can get there is, like, this year we're having a lot of guys play both ways. So me, Daniel, and Najee, you're going to see us on defense a little bit, getting our front linemen a lot bigger and stronger so we can get those short yardage situations. And so I think, and most importantly, keeping all of our starters healthy, because that'll be huge for us this year. Last year, injuries and missing people really hurt us down the road. So I think if we can accomplish all those things, that goal, like the ultimate goal of conference, region, state championship will become so much more like achievable, and that's ultimately where we think we're headed.
What about individually?
Individually, for game one against Robinson, I just want to be the best player I can be, honestly. It being my senior year, I want to leave it all out on the field this year. So, every game, every route, every play, I'm pushing myself to the next level. So, especially playing Robinson this year, everyone's saying, well, most people are saying that, it was a fluke. I mean, I don't really think it was. I think we actually played our hardest, and we were able to beat that team because we had the ability to. But this year, I think we can do, a better job than we did last year. So that's all on my mind this year, just beating Robinson the first game. So.
All right. Not
I agree with him too, but I just want to make sure I catch every ball, make sure I'm on the right game plan, make sure people behind me, just in case I go down, they're ready to step up, be with Peter. Just make sure that the whole team's ready.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Elgers tells us sometimes that, like, with us and a couple other players, that, like, we're our worst enemies, and that, like, it's not necessarily going to be the defense that's going to stop us, but us, like, maybe, like, putting too much pressure on ourselves. So we just got to, like, relax, have fun, be focused, and really just play our game because we put the work in and we're ready to go.
Yep.
And the last question's for all three of you. Is there a better receiving core in the area than the two of you guys?
To be honest, I don't think so. You, Daniel?
I don't think so either. There's some teams that could compete with us, like in terms of receiving cores, but I don't think there's a better receiving core than us here.
No.
Yeah, I think me and Daniel know how to work together because we've been together since freshman year.
Yeah. I mean, we've been balling forever. I mean, there's no stopping
It's a tight
us,
bond
really.
between us. So.
good. Excellent. Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Najee Green, Peter Musket, Daniel Ledoux, West Springfield High School.
Rob, what's not lacking from those two?
Confidence. All three of them, they've got a tremendous amount for good reason. They're terrific players, and they're looking for big things from this year.
Let's get into this game. West Springfield or Robinson. Last year I was at the game at West Springfield. Atmosphere was electric. Peter Musket takes it down the sideline at the end of the game. They win. It's insane. Robinson's had a year to sit on that.
Yeah.
They come back loaded. West Springfield's loaded. We know Coach Eldridge very well. What's your thoughts?
Man, it's gonna be a fun one to watch. That's for sure. A little bit jealous that you're gonna be there. A little bit jealous, but it's gonna be a tremendous atmosphere. I mean, Robinson's gonna pack that place.
Yeah.
They're gonna have that big ram out all over the place. It's gonna be an awesome atmosphere to see. But we'll see. It looks like Jaquez Stewart got a little bit nicked up in their last scrimmage, so we'll see what that's like. But they still got Roman Lowry, who's a returner from last year,
Right.
815 yards last year. He's going to be a load for anybody to stop. And, Robinson, they like to line it up and run it down your throat. So it's going to be quite a challenge for
You couldn't pick two opposite styles of coaching in this game, but both produce at a high level. So it should be really interesting to see.
You could very well see 40 passes from West Springfield and 45 rushes from Robinson. It's going to be interesting to want to watch.
Yeah, can't wait for that. So, Burke, Virginia, we will be there. And I'm sure all of Burke will be there as well.
Oh, everybody will be in that house, yeah.
There's some other huge games next week we'll be covering. So let's start with Annandale at Centerville.
Man, Annandale, you saw them. They looked terrific last week. But we talked to Coach Eldridge about their last scrimmage. West Springfield played Centerville, and he said they're a lot better than people think.
Right.
It's going to be a big challenge for Annandale because they gave up 300 yards to McLean. on the ground. Centerville is going to come back on the ground, and they're going to do everything they can to rush that ball.
And a game that doesn't happen often in this area, Eastern from D.C. is playing at Falls Church.
Yes, I'll be at that game on Thursday. Can't wait to see it. That game is going to be, Falls Church is going to be, they're going to be ready to go. They got a couple of guys. They're eager to get the season going. We talked to Coach Aziz a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's, can't wait to see him. He's a big, colorful guy, and that's going to be a fun one to see.
Forest Park at Patriot.
Man, Forest Park, I think they're going to be tough this year. I think they're going to be really tough. Patriot, they came off a big win over Stafford, 29-28. I think that's going to be a good game, too.
Garfield plays at Battlefield.
Man, I don't know what to say about that one. Garfield's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, that could be. Hilton at Osborne.
I think Osborne's going to be in a lot of trouble in that one as well. Those are, both of those teams coming off the 3 overtime win.
Right.
I do not think they're going to be worn out from that game, and I think Hilton's going to be ready to go and take on Osborne.
There's another team that plays off of Braddock Road who doesn't want to be left out of the conversation when we talk about Robinson so often, and that's going to be the Lee at Lake Braddock game.
Man, I think anybody going up against Lake Braddock this year is going to be in trouble. Lee had some downtimes over the last several years. Lake Braddock has not. Lake Braddock has that two-headed monster. They have Lamont Atkins and Mansari, the other running back. My goodness, those guys can go. They're going to be a load. And Coach Eldridge, again, on the Spartan Spotlight, told us they have a tight end. They don't know what they're going to do with, so watch out for that guy, too.
The word about Lake Braddock is that they're huge. Yeah. That's what I'm hearing from everywhere, is they're huge. Marshall plays South Lakes.
Yeah, I got South Lakes in that.
South Lakes there. Potomac Falls at Dominion.
That's going to be a good game. Let me tell you something. There's few better fan bases in the area than Potomac Falls. They are terrific and they travel well.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be a good one.
And then one game that may end up being the most intriguing game next week, just from the result of a game that just took place, South County at Briarwoods.
Man, Briarwoods, they went up there and beat Tuscarora 21-0, shocked everybody. I think Tuscarora's been a powerhouse over the last several years. So that game, that's a little bit crazy. But they have a receiver, Briarwoods has a receiver, Ben Maffey, going to Marshall on a scholarship.
Right.
6'3", big guy, had 2 touchdowns in that game. I like that quarterback, Skylar Springs, a bit too. He's going to be a tough one to handle. Man, Briarwoods is going to have their hands full with South County, though. We both know South County is tough, and they come at you. They got a huge offensive line.
Yeah.
Huge offensive line. Now, they are going to be without their quarterback, Mike Salisbury. He's out of that game, but doesn't mean they don't have Dylan Spalding. That guy is, he's going to be everywhere, and he is not afraid of the lights. He is not afraid of the camera. That guy's going to be getting it done. But also look out for running back Solomon Semaine. He's one to watch out for. I think he's going to have a breakout year this year. But the big matchup to see is what South County's going to do with Ben Maffey. Who are they going to put on there? Now, South County likes to call themselves DBU because they've got a ton of them. But who are they going to throw at him? Are they going to put Nate Avery, Christian Massey? Which one is going to go against them? I think Christian Massey's probably going to get that matchup, and that's going to be a matchup to watch right there.
Well, I can't wait till next week.
No, it's going to be great.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in for the first episode of the Rubber Run Sports Show. I am John Moore. This is Rob G. and Papa. You can always find us on rubberrunsports.com. If you're watching us on rubberrunsports.com, you can check us out on Comcast Channel 2 in Prince William County and Channel 28 in Reston. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.